Hare Krishna, everybody. Dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, giving relief to the world through transcendental sound. Glad to have you back. Hope everybody's happy and safe and well. We're going to start the Srimad Bhagavatamrta Stotram right away. Here we are on an auspicious day, the day before Ramanavami, the holy appearance day of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Lord Ramachandra. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, Glorification by Srila Sanatana and Goswami, goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandodita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Padamananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sevasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Manistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Anandana Mostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin atini chochata kada anamunchagadachin mam premna ritkantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Gopakumar is literally entering into the life of Brajadam, of Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. We're starting with text 113. Nanda sat down on his golden seat in the dining hall and began to have his meal with the two brothers at his sides. That's Krishna and Balaram. Commentary: Krishna and Balarama also had golden seats. Text 114. Yashoda's darling child on his left, the son of Rohini on his right, and at the strong insistence of these brothers, I sat directly opposite in my own place. Commentary. Looks like you don't have to do sadhana in Goloka to get close to Krishna. For the oldest son to sit on his father's right is standard etiquette. And this also made it easier for Nanda Maharaj to feed Krishna with his own hand. The two brothers asked for Sarup to sit just opposite them and Nanda. Though Sarupa was served separately, Nanda shared his own food with his two sons. This was acceptable for him to do with two boys who had not yet received the sacred thread initiation. Text 115 and 116. So you get a little glimpse of how even spiritual etiquettes are there in the daily life in Goloka Vrindavan. From inside the house, Sri Rohini sent the emperor of meals, arranged in many jewel-bedecked vessels of gold and silver. Mother Yashoda, with great affection, served the food of all four kinds and endowed with all good qualities, and Krishna began to eat. Commentary. Since Sri Krishna was the star attraction at dinner, Sarup gives particular attention to how Krishna was fed. Mother Rohini arranged the meal artistically on excellent serving dishes and sent it out to the dining hall. The food displayed all admirable qualities: good fragrance, good color, good taste, and so on. Text 117. He heartily devoured the various delicacies which filled many separate bowls brought in on a large gold platter. Commentary. Literally, kabaliyan means rolling the food into morsels to be chewed and swallowed. Text 118. At one point his mother, his father, and his brother took turns carefully putting morsels into his mouth, morsels he playfully accepted. Text 119. Now and then he also drank all sorts of splendid beverages carried in large bowls and pure water carried in pitchers. Text 120. At the start of the meal, he ate warm sweet rice with ghee and sugar, very tasty, together with cakes, pies, jalebis, and flatbreads. Text 121. He ate other items fried in ghee, and he also had sweetened yogurt and various things made from transformations of yogurt and milk. Text 122. In the middle of the meal, he ate fine white rice, warm, fragrant, and tender, with fried dal balls and dal wafers and leafy greens and soups and other vegetable dishes. Text 123. He ate other items made mostly of milk products and mainly sweet and sour in taste, plus sour things mixed with salt and pungent spices. Commentary. Among the spices were hot pepper and mixtures of salt and roasted cumin seeds. Text 124. Toward the end, he once again ate sweetened yogurt, various other items made from yogurt and buttermilk, garnished with asavatida and other spices, and while he himself ate, he also fed me. Commentary. The Raja Nighantu dictionary gives a recipe for the sweetened yogurt preparation known as shikarini. To yogurt are added cinnamon, rock sugar, ground black pepper, and ground green cardamom, as well as honey and ghee. Then the mixture is kept for some time in a vessel packed in ice. Text 125. Neither words nor the mind can form a picture of how Krishna's lovely tongue, rising to his drawn pink upper lip, while he chewed, sported within the cheeks of his lotus face, a face resplendent with the beautiful dancing of his lotus eyes and bow-like eyebrows. Commentary. Even how Krishna chews on jalebis and other foods is a wonder to behold. Everything the Supreme Lord does is attractive, and so too is everything done by his fully surrendered devotees. Text 126. The gopis brought from their homes many sweets cooked in milk, ghee, and sugar, and placed them before Mother Yashoda. Text 127. With wonderful, playful gestures, Krishna ate from all the dishes the gopis had brought, praising every item and eating from each dish more than once. He thus made all the gopis happy, and he also fed me some of those items to me with his own hand. Text 128. Next, Sri Radhika brought Manohara ladus, both small round ones and large flat ones, and set them down on Krishna's left. Commentary. The Manohara ladu is aptly named the sweet ball that steals the heart. Sri Radha placed these ladus on Krishna's left, where he could easily reach them. Text 129. Krishna picked up a few of those sweets with the nails of his thumb and forefinger and put them on the tip of his tongue. He then made a face as if they tasted like bitter neem. He's teasing Radharani. Text 130. Krishna's brother smiled. His mother was angry at Sri Radhika, and his father was surprised. Radha's innocent girlfriends were pained, and her antagonists were delighted. Commentary. Mother Yashoda was angry that the girls were bringing Krishna bitter sweets. Nanda was surprised, doubting how the girls could possibly have done this. Though the gopis in rival parties were enlivened by the mistake, Sri Radhika's innocent-minded Sakhis were upset by the thought that something bitter must have been put in the ladus. Among the Sakhis, however, the more clever could see a joke being played that would further highlight Sri Radhika's good fortune. Text 131. Since I was born in the family of Radharani's brother, Krishna threw all the ladus onto my plate. Surprised to find them extremely tasty, I ate them all. Commentary. Sri Dhamma is the brother of Srimati Radharani, and Swarup is also a member of their family. So Krishna thought it fit to dump the ladus onto his plate. These bitter ladus are not fit for me. Her relatives deserve to eat them. In truth, however, Krishna knew that the ladus were most perfectly prepared, and he gave them to Swarup out of great love. Text 132. Radha secretly looked at Krishna and arched her eyebrows, and Krishna, nodding his head, gratified her with a gentle smile and a sidelong glance. Commentary. To make sure that Sri Radha was not ashamed and unhappy because Mother Yashoda was angry at her, Krishna divulged his true feelings. Text 133. Suddenly I understood this was a pastime by the crest jewel of skillful actors to thoroughly please the devotees tormented by the weight of their love for him. Text 134. Then Krishna properly washed his mouth and playfully chewed some excellent pan. Glancing at Radhika, he put the chewed pan into my mouth. Commentary. Without arousing suspicion in the other gopis, Krishna, the most expert romantic hero, pleased Radhika by placing this desirable remnant into the mouth of her family member. You see, everything is there in the spiritual world. Family members and little competitions from one to the other to try to get the favor. And, it's all there. When you go to Goloka Vrindavan, you don't lose anything except suffering. Text 135. Except misery. That's the only thing you lose. That's the only things you have to renounce. Okay, text 135. Krishna's mother, anxious with affection, chanted mantras and rubbed his belly with her left palm again and again to make sure he would digest what he had eaten. Pure motherhood. Commentary. There was no real danger that such a lovingly prepared meal could cause indigestion, but Mother Yashoda was obsessed with keeping her son happy and comfortable. Such was her unique love for him. Text 136. Nanda Maharaj went out into the cow pastures. Intelligent Balarama went to sleep, and Krishna, singing songs, wandered around the village courtyard. Commentary. Perceptive Balarama could understand that this was a good chance for Krishna to enjoy some of his more private pastimes. He therefore rested inside the house. Yashoda was also inside, busy with housework. Text 137. Eager to enjoy with the beautiful girls of Braja, Krishna played for a short time outside. Then, out of respect for his mother, he responded to her distant call and came home and went straight to his bedroom and lay down comfortably on the bed, its cotton sheets as soft and white as the foam of milk. Text 138. That spacious bed had soft pillows, some like spotless full moons, others of various kinds, and it lay on an effulgent bedstead, beautifully ornamented. Purport? Oh, sorry, comment on the last one. Gaurava means great respect. Although Krishna is always eager to consort with the gopis, he is also attracted by the special love of his mother. He is Akila Rasamrita Murti, the embodiment of all relationships, not just the Madhurya Rasa. Text 138. That spacious bed had soft pillows, some like spotless full moons, others of various kinds, and it lay on an effulgent bedstead, beautifully ornamented with shining gold bedecked with priceless gems. Commentary. Some of Krishna's pillows in Nanda Maharaj's home resemble the full moon in shape and color, but they aren't marred by spots. Krishna's bed also has other long pillows, especially soft, are the ones he uses to rest his head. Text 139. A splendid canopy draped with strings of pearls further enhanced the beauty of that bed, which stood in a room fragrant with the Guru incense, a room whose beautiful closets were built with many valuable gems, a palatial room that excelled all others as the lion excels all other animals. Commentary. The canopies above the bed were not only decorative, they also served the practical purpose of shading Krishna on nights when the moon was bright. All four corners of the room were decorated with curiously constructed closets. Text 140. Skillful Radha had made pan and wrapped it into packets and now offered them to Krishna by placing them into his mouth. And Chandravali and Sri Lalita playfully massaged his lotus feet. Text 141. The gopis divided the various services among themselves. Some took up yak-tail whisks, others held boxes in a row with more pan, others had several vessels for catching the falling remnants of pan, and others carried large pots of fresh water. Text 142. Other gopis sang songs and recited prayers that were pleasing to his ears. Some played various musical instruments, and yet others exchanged joking words with him. Commentary. The gopis are always fully dedicated to satisfying Krishna. They sang his names and offered him prayers because such sankirtan pleases him very much. Text 143. Krishna, served by all those gopis, their hearts melting in great affection for him, responded by giving to each one, unseen by the others, the prized remnants of his chewed pan. Commentary. Krishna is more eager to fulfill the desires of his devotees than to receive their service. On this occasion, he gave the prasad of his pan to all the gopis. This does not mean, however, that Krishna treated all the gopis exactly the same way. He reciprocated with each of them individually, unseen by the others. Text 144. In this way, the most eminent member of the assembly of great rogues gratified all his beloved girlfriends with his behavior. Then, pleased by the loving talks of Sri Radhika, as a pastime, he took a short nap. Commentary. Even while exchanging affection with all the gopis, Krishna showed special favor to the chief of them, Srimati Radharani. He took special pleasure in talking with her. Text 145. Signaled by a gesture from Krishna, the gopis, overflowing with happiness, all left for their own homes. Commentary. Even when Krishna sent the gopis home, they were happy, because as they were leaving, he secretly asked each of them to meet him later. Text 146. Sri Dhamma came, and with some effort brought me away to his house. And about Krishna's pastimes during the night, there's nothing I can say. Commentary. Sarup's disciple might be curious about the pastimes Krishna hinted at to the gopis by moving his eyebrows, but as Sarup tells him, that topic is not theirs to discuss. Text 147. I spent that night in great distress, and early next morning I went to the house of Nanda Maharaj and saw Krishna asleep in bed, his body showing signs of conjugal enjoyment. Commentary. Sarup stayed awake all night, so there's no mention of his waking up. At dawn, he went to Krishna and saw fingernail scratches all over Krishna's body. Text 148. Krishna's simple-hearted mother came in and sat down at his side. While attending to him in various ways, she said something under her breath. Commentary. Mother Yashoda saw the same marks as Sarup, but was not capable of wondering what had caused them. Her mind worked in a simple, straightforward way. She busied herself in bathing Krishna and getting him ready for the day. Text 149. Sri Yashoda said, "Dear me, all day my little boy tended the cows in the forests. Fatigued, he was happy to go to sleep, and now he is still not awake." Commentary. Yashoda could hardly think that Krishna was not yet up because he had been awake all night, dancing with the gopis. Instead, she thought he was still asleep because he was just a little boy. Text 150. As he ran about the forest, nasty thorns made cuts all over his body. Commentary. This was Yashoda's explanation for the scratches made by the fingernails of the amorous gopis. But as she carefully examined and gently touched the marks with her hand, she wondered, how could the thorns in the forest have cut his lips? Well, running all over and playing wildly with the boys, he must have fallen face first into a bush. Text 151. Oh, how painful this must have been for him! But now, fast asleep, he is not aware of anything, and he has smeared the kajal from his eyes all over his body. Commentary. This kajal was from the gopis' eyes, which Krishna had been kissing. Text 152. He doesn't even know that he has spilled red pan juice from his lips all over himself, and that by turning over and over in bed, he has broken his necklaces and garlands and other ornaments. Commentary. The red stains on Krishna's cheeks were actually from the pan chewed by the gopis, and his garlands and necklaces had broken while he was embracing them. Krishna's clothing and the protective thread on his neck were also in disarray, but Mother Yashoda ascribed all this to his rolling about in his sleep. Text 153. My goodness, this saffron-colored clay from the shore of the Yamuna, it seems that even his bath couldn't wash it off. It has become like an inseparable friend to his body. Commentary. This red clay was actually kumkum from the gopis' breasts. Text 154. Yesterday evening, those fickle girls didn't bathe him with proper attention. They didn't nicely apply the oil and wipe off what was left. Commentary. If those silly girls had bathed Krishna more carefully, she thought, the dirt would have come off. Text 155. Sri Sarup said, Mother Yashoda spoke like that again and again, right in front of the young girls of Braja, who had just arrived and who now had signs of fear, laughter, and embarrassment playfully shining on their faces. Commentary. Mother Yashoda's name implies that she added to Krishna's fame, Yasho Dadao. The gopis arrived at Nanda Maharaja's house just as she was complaining about Krishna's disheveled state. Listening to her, they became afraid that she might begin to understand what Krishna had actually been doing at night. Still, they couldn't help but laugh at her naive statements and shrink in embarrassment at seeing the obvious signs of their dalliance with Krishna. Text 156. Krishna then finished his pastime of sleep, and his mother bathed him, adorned him with ornaments, and fed both him and Balarama. Text 157. She made Krishna relax a short while, and he enjoyed talking with the gopis. Then he got things ready for his auspicious departure to the forest. Text 158. Though the young gopis were pained at heart at the thought of soon being separated from Krishna, Mother Yashoda had them sing transcendental songs for his good fortune and ceremoniously carry full pots and other auspicious items. Commentary. No matter what ecstasy impeded them, the gopis had to do their service. After all, they had to sing and carry purnakumbhas, full pots of water with yogurt, flowers, unhusked barley, parched rice, and other pure substances, or else Krishna's departure for the forest would not be auspicious. Text 159. She sat Krishna on a chair with his elder brother and adorned their limbs with ornaments and medicinal herbs suitable for the forest. Commentary. Besides decorative ornaments, Yashoda placed various items on their bodies to assure their safety, such as tiger nails, enchanted talismans, protective threads, herbs meant for healing wounds, and Garuda money, emeralds for guarding against poison. Text 160. She engaged elderly Brahmana ladies and other ladies in offering blessings, and she made Krishna do all the prescribed rituals to prepare for his outing. This happens every morning. Every morning. Commentary. elderly Brahmanis blessed Krishna, as did the older gopis. Krishna was more eager to get going than to touch his nose with his fingers and carry out other protective rituals, but his mother gave him no choice. Text 161. Krishna took the lunch his mother gave him for noontime, stirred the cows from their rest, and got them in front of him and set off, playing his flute. Commentary. Mother Yashoda had prepared lunch for Krishna to take with him, and he packed as much of it as he could in a bag tied to a stick. Then he roused the cows, who were lying down, and drove them forward, urging them on with the music of his flute. Text 162. Just then, his companions came out in groups from the cowherd village and gathered around him. The boys were all fit to be his intimate friends. Commentary. Because the attention of the cowherd boys was never diverted to anything other than pleasing Krishna, the boys needed only to hear Krishna's flute to know that it was time to leave. It hardly mattered whether they had finished having breakfast or preparing themselves. If Krishna was going to the forest, they had to follow right behind. There were a great number of these companions of Krishna, and they naturally divided themselves into groups, led by prominent boys. All the boys, however, were completely fit to be with the Supreme Lord in close friendship. Text 163. At one moment, he and the boys played their flutes, at another, their buffalo horns, and still another, some instruments fashioned from leaves. Thus, he and the boys showed off by playing various kinds of music. Remember when we were boys, we used to take the grass, put it like this, and then and make noise? Now you know where it came from. That's right. Text 164. Every country also, everywhere, all over the world. Same. 164. All his friends, playthings in hand, joyfully sang, danced, and glorified him. Krishna stood with his brother. Commentary. Among the various things the boys carried were balls, drums, fans, flags, seats, umbrellas, chamara fans, hand cymbals, wooden shoes, and food and drink. This was the paraphernalia for their games in the forest. The boys were very happy to be away from their homes and on the way to the forest where they could play however they liked. 165. Krishna's elder brother walked in front and I walked behind. And the girls, unable to tolerate being separated from Krishna, found excuses to follow and came out from the village, helplessly pulled by ropes of love. Commentary. Here Sarup gives the gopis only a slight mention, referring to them simply as Taha, those girls, because anything he says about them might stir his memories of the special relations between the gopis and Krishna and disturb the mood he is trying to set. Even though his relationship with Krishna was in Sakyaras, if he were to remember the gopis' love for Krishna, he would be unable to control his ecstasy. The gopis could hardly justify walking out of the village in broad daylight and in front of everyone, but because they were helplessly attracted to Krishna, they were unable to tolerate his absence. Text 166. Mother Yashoda saw Krishna perspiring from a mood of ecstasy and came to wipe his face and went with him as far as the outer gates of the village, her breasts wet with milk. Commentary. Krishna's face may have been perspiring because of the longing to be with the gopis that had rose in him when he saw them following behind. Mother Yashoda, however, was concerned only with wiping his face. First, she wiped with her hand, and when that didn't work, she used the edge of her garment. Text 197. At his request, she then turned back toward the house. But after 2 or 3 steps, she craned her neck and anxiously went back to her son. 168. She made pan for him and put some in his mouth and some in his hand, and then again turned toward the house. But once again, she quickly came back to him. Commentary. Just like the first time, Yashoda again nervously turned around, craned her neck to see him, and came back to him. Text 169. Right on the path, she fed him some fruits and some other sweet things, and gave him something to drink. Then she again started going back to the house, and then again turned around. Text 170. She gave him a thorough looking over and adjusted his clothes and other things he had on, and then she once more turned back. But then again she returned and plaintively gave him some instructions. Commentary. Yashoda spoke to Krishna anxiously because she knew he was naughty and would likely ignore her advice. Text 171. My dear child, don't go too far into the impenetrable woods, and never enter deep into the forest where there are thorns. Text 172. After speaking this way at length, beseeching him to take care, she once again turned home and took a few steps, and yet again came back. 173. My dear boy Rama, he said, you stay in front of your younger brother, and you, Sri Dhamma, stay behind your friend Krishna with Sarup. 174. You, Angshu, should stay on Krishna's right, and you, Subal, on his left. Straw between her teeth, she implored the boys with such requests. Then she looked intently at her son. Commentary. Balarama, the most competent of the boys, should walk in front of Krishna, though the others would spontaneously take up their proper places. She directed them anyway, just to make sure. The phrase, it yadi kam, indicates other requests. The boys should not let Krishna go into thorny and dangerous places. They should provide him shade if the sun became too intense, and they should be sure he ate nicely at lunch. Coming to the end of her list of requests, Mother Yashoda looked intently at Krishna's face to invoke promises from Krishna and the other boys that they would do what she had asked. Sweet, so sweet. Text 175. In this way, Mother Yashoda, anxiously going back and forth again and again, showed more love than a cow who has just given birth to a calf. Commentary. This exchange between Yashoda and Krishna went on for some time, but Sarup wanted to avoid prolonging his description. Text 176. Her son then bowed down to her, took hold of her feet, and embraced her, and with various rationales, and finally, with words of insistence of his own, with great effort, he made her turn back. Commentary. Krishna hoped that by showing this elaborate display of respect and affection, he could convince his mother of how seriously he took his words, her words. He reminded her that she also had to eat breakfast and attend to various household chores. But when all his reasons failed to convince her, he finally simply insisted very strongly that she go back. All this he had to do several times before she finally relented. Text 177. And she, crying, milk dripping from her breasts, stood right there, motionless like a painted picture, and distantly watched from that high place near the forest. 178, 179. But the lovely gopis kept following him, their throats choked with weeping. They could no longer sing, nor see through their streams of tears, and their feet stumbled. In their shyness and fear, they had nothing they could do, or they had nothing they could do or say. Drowning in a great ocean of sorrow, they had no way to hold back their feelings. Commentary. As expressed by the word tu, however, the mood of the gopis is even more exalted than that of Mother Yashoda. The gopis, the Lord's most beloved devotees, are endowed with all excellent qualities. And now the gopis were overwhelmed by various emotions, such as their natural shyness, which decorated their personalities most of the time, and their fear of what their elders must be thinking, and what the consequences might be of having left the village without permission. In the village, moreover, the gopis could counteract the pain of separation from Krishna by embracing and kissing him. But now that he was leaving for the day, there was nothing they could do. They lacked the strength even to ask, how can we live like this? According to a well-known psychological principle, nevedya dukkam sukhino bhavanti. Unhappy people can regain their peace of mind by revealing the cause of their distress. But here the gopis couldn't even express themselves, so they remained adrift in the vast ocean of their misery. Text 180. Krishna had stolen the hearts and eyes of these young girls. The girls had come so far from the cowherd village, and now, with some endeavor, he stopped them. And as they looked at him, he repeatedly tried to send them home. He anxiously reassured them again and again through a trusted messenger and by his own gestures. He stretched his neck to glance at the girls with love, signaled with his eyebrows, and did what he could do did what he could to make the girls shy and even afraid. In this way he forced them to stop, and they stood in front of his mother, motionless, just like her. Commentary. The boys were now approaching the dense forest, an unsafe place for young girls. So Krishna had to send them back. By sending a boy as his go-between, and by making his own gestures, like knitting his eyebrows, shaking his head, and biting the tip of his tongue, he managed to convince them not to go any further. The gopis then joined Mother Yashoda on the same hill where the gopis stood still like pictures and cried profusely, just like her. Nanda, the king of cowherds, naturally loved Krishna ever so much, but upon seeing his wife's loving concern, he was enslaved by overwhelming affection. 184. Though Nanda Maharaj had gone with Krishna a great distance, and the elder cowherds with him, when Nanda saw the great burden of love all the people of Braja bore for his son, he was unable to turn back. Commentary. As the king of the cowherd community, Nanda would normally be surrounded by priests, advisors, and other Brajavasis. So along with Nanda, other leaders of the community, including his elder brother, Upananda, were also following Krishna. But even out of regard for their comfort, Nanda couldn't bring himself to turn around, to turn back. 185. Nanda was delighted to see many auspicious omens and see the animals and other creatures all very happy, yet he was distraught at having to be parted from his son, Krishna. Commentary. The animals showed auspicious symptoms. They had full faces and bodies and were circling Nanda clockwise. The deer, birds, and other forest creatures were happy because their time for being separated with Krishna was night, and now it was time for Krishna to join them in the forest. Text 186. Again and again he embraced Krishna and Krishna's elder brother, both separately and together. He smelled their heads and shed tears in the pain of great love for them. 187. Then Krishna bowed down to Nanda, reminded him of the many duties Nanda had to perform, and sent him home. Turning back, Nanda stood motionless, looking at Krishna and nothing else. Commentary. Krishna convinced Nanda, you are needed at home to save the villagers from becoming too wretched over my absence. Also, in the afternoon, Nanda would have to organize the decorating of the village for Krishna's return. When Nanda's two sons had gone so deep into the forest, he could no longer see them or hear any sound. He finally turned back toward the cowherd village. Commentary. For a while, even after the boys and their animals were too far away to be seen, some sounds could still be heard, like cows mooing and horns being blown. But when even those sounds were inaudible, Nanda finally went home. That's it for tonight. Hare Krishna. These are the activities of Goloka-Vrindavan, and they go on every day like this. Every single day is a festival. Every single event of the day is a festival. And we want to stay here in this material world? What are we, crazy? Yes. Hare Krishna. Okay. Comments? Reflections?
Bhakti said, Jai Guru Maharaj. Bhaktaben said, Jai Maharaj, hearing all this really relaxes the mind. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Rati Manjari said, only love in Goloka.
Yes. That's it. Love in different forms make up the atmosphere and the activities and everything in Goloka. And if we just get attracted to hearing these things, it cleans us. Cleans us of all of our misconceptions and fears and attachments, and all of those things. And then the perfection is if you can remember these things all day, during the day and night. Hare Krishna. That's it?
Benshu said Sankirtan.
Sankirtan. Yes.
Anandamoti Devidasi. Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances or glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is the aim of life. So beautiful.
There you go.
Anandamoti Devidasi. Today I'm going to have Sankirtan and book distribution.
Jai. Try to bring some people to hear these things. The goal of life material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. And this is what it means. That everything we have here that we think we're attached to and we can't live without and we need and all of that, they're actually there in the spiritual world waiting for us. It's like a mirage. The material world is a dream. Just like you look into a desert and you see a big body of water because of the refraction of the heat of the sand. So the water is real, but it's not there. So all the things that you get attached to in this material world, they're real, but they're not here. They're there. So rather than go out into the desert and become dead and dry, we can hear Krishna's pastimes and get juiced up. And of course there's a philosophy that has to come and be fixed in our hearts before we can actually truly enter into this realm, into the spiritual realm. That is Bhakti Yoga. Sadhana Bhakti, regulating the senses, hearing and chanting regularly, doing our morning programs, doing service with our senses and our mind for Krishna, and absorbing ourselves more and more so that we don't want to waste a moment without doing that. That brings us gradually to the stage of spontaneous affection, which is being manifest before our eyes, our spiritual hearts, in the form of the Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Hare Krishna.
Rati Manjari said, please pray for us, Guru Maharaj, that we may all become eligible to go there one day.
Yes, so be it. Why just us? Everyone. Everyone in the world. That's who Prabhupada was. That's what he wanted. Following the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, let's try to please Lord Chaitanya by becoming fully attached to Krishna and trying to bring as many people to Krishna's abode as possible. And in the meantime, while we're doing that, create an atmosphere of Vrindavan wherever we are. Shri Brhad Bhagavatamrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Binda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Ram Navami evening. We're still doing the end of our proof hearing of the Chaitanya Charitamrita and doing all the things we need to do before Rasika Shiromani has to go back to this US and get his visa, proper visa. So we will be worshipping Lord Ramachandra by hearing Krishna's pastime, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Okay, see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhupada.